There's a new push in Washington for more accountability from foreign business executives whose stocks are traded on U.S. exchanges. Republican Senator John Kennedy, Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen introducing a bill that would hold these executives to the same disclosure requirements as U.S. business leaders. In a statement, Senator Kennedy said, insiders at companies in Beijing and Moscow have been able to avoid billions in losses on the U.S. stock exchange by playing by a different set of rules than Americans do. This insider trading comes at a cost to American investors. Senator Kennedy and Senator Van Hollen join us right now. It's good to have you both on side by side, smiling friends. This is a wonderful thing. Let me start with you, Senator Kennedy. I don't think necessarily all of our viewers understand what a great deal some of these foreign executives have had in the past. They might know something about a situation. They might be able to make moves in their own portfolio, and basically any of the adverse consequences are passed on to normal shareholders of the companies.
Well, let me give you an example. A couple of years ago, Alibaba was going to take an affiliate company public. And the Chinese Communist Party got mad at Alibaba and said, you can't take the affiliate public. The day before the announcement was made that the company was not going public, an Alibaba insider sold $150 million worth of Alibaba stock. The very next day, Alibaba stock dropped 8%. So that insider avoided some substantial losses. In America, if it were an American company rather, that insider would have had to notify the SEC electronically, and everybody else would know that he was selling. That's not true for a Chinese or a British or an Israeli company.
How many laws, Senator Van Hollen, would you have to enact, in addition to this one, to completely level the playing field between the way Chinese companies are able to operate globally in terms of disclosure and everything else? This is just, I mean, how many steps would there be? This is just one small part of the whole problem.
Well, as you say, the goal here is to make sure that all companies around the world trading on U.S. exchanges play by the same rules. And Senator Kennedy and I teamed up a couple of years ago to close another loophole which allowed companies in China and other places around the world to play by a different set of accounting standards. In other words, we were not able to inspect their company books in the same way that U.S. companies' books are inspected, those companies that are listed on the exchange. And so far, as a result of that, the SEC and others have been over to China to inspect the books. This is step two that we're working on to make sure that insiders, executives in China or Russia or any other country don't get to play by a different set of rules that disadvantages American investors and the American public. So we're looking through each of these areas to make sure that everybody plays by the same rules.
This one seems pretty easy, just so they'd have to do it within the same 2 business days, but they'd have to report what's happening. Is that, I mean, I think I could write that bill almost.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's no reason why someone, an executive in China should get to put their disclosure in snail mail and have it, stuck in somebody's office for weeks. So this is a simple effort to try to make sure that people play by the same rules.
Would you tell U.S. investors or global investors to just be very wary of investing in Chinese-based companies in general? Senator Kennedy, how much more work needs to be done here?
Well, I don't want to single out the Chinese companies, though in terms of Chris's and I's bill, about 50%, over 50% of these insider trades that aren't reported are by Chinese companies. But they're Canadian companies that take advantage of the loophole, Israeli companies, Canadian companies. And I'm not saying that the Chinese insiders are doing anything wrong. I'm just saying they ought to play by the same rules as American companies.
Hey, Senator Van Hollen, You don't need to look over at Senator Kennedy when you answer this, but do you think that we should pass a clean debt ceiling raise, in your view, or do you think the president should negotiate maybe some spending or something else that Speaker McCarthy wants? Do you think it should be clean, or do you think the president should negotiate a little bit?
So I don't think we should default on our debts. That would create havoc throughout the economy. So I think we should pass a clean bill to pay our bills on time. And then, as always, we should negotiate over the budget. And we are waiting for Speaker McCarthy and the House Republicans to pass their budget. The president has presented his budget. But if you want to negotiate on the budget, then you've got to present your proposal. But as to defaulting on our debts, that is a red line, no go. It would just create chaos around the country and the world.
Senator Kennedy, a lot of times, if you don't take advantage of a situation, we may never negotiate. Do you think that it's outrageous to sit down and maybe talk for the good of the country, talk about some of the things we can do, and then pass the debt ceiling? What would you tell Senator Van Hollen?
Well, I would tell Chris I don't disagree with anything he said. I'm not going to vote to default on America's debt. I didn't vote for much of that debt, but it passed. And I'm not going to vote to default on it. Now, having said that, I believe, not everyone agrees with me, but the most effective way right now to help Jay Powell reduce inflation is to slow the rate of growth of spending and debt accumulation. And I think most people, unless they were in the quad playing Frisbee during Econ 101, understand that fiscal policy and monetary policy matters when you've got inflation. And I'd like to see Congress do its part, and I'm hoping the president will come to the table and negotiate in good faith. I understand that he's waiting on Speaker McCarthy to present something, but I think that's going to happen pretty quickly.
Oh, all right, that sounds good. See, we got through that. Frisbee on the quad, I remember a lot of that. But when I went to school, it was mostly the B school kids. They were the ones that could go out every night. You know, molecular biology. No way. It was the B, and that's a problem. If all the economists were playing Frisbee, because I think that would explain a lot, wouldn't it, guys?
Well, they're all CEOs now.
They're CEOs and on the Fed. All right,